And welcome again to the Study Bible Study, where we study the Bible with study Bibles. God bless and amen. And Revelation 17:14 tells us, "And these shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall conquer them, for he is Lord of lords, he is King of kings, and they who are with him are called and chosen and faithful." God bless and amen. And what is wisdom? I'm glad you asked. Wisdom is to be wise with good manner and good sense, to comprehend various learnings and to be skillful in all that comes before you in tasks and endeavors. Wisdom is to be holden of yourself in a well thought out manner. Wisdom will direct your piety and keep you prudent before the Lord your God. Wisdom is a more eminent sense of the Lord your God and the coming to the knowledge of God's omniscience. Now, through faith, God imparts his wisdom on us. To be devoid of God is to have no wisdom. Wisdom doesn't exist without knowing God. Proverbs 15:33 tells us the fear of the Lord is the instruction of wisdom, and before honor is humility. Now, a psalm of confidence before we start our manual for men read. This, and again in the Douay rhymes, is Psalm number 22. It beats Psalm number 23, known to us more Protestant type people. God's spiritual benefits to faithful souls. The Lord ruleth over me, I shall want nothing. He hath set me in a place of pasture. He has brought me up on the water of refreshment. He has converted my soul. He has led me on the paths of justice for his own name's sake. For though I should walk in the midst of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff, they have comforted me. Thou hast prepared a table before me against them that afflict me. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, and my chalice which inebrieth me. How goodly it is! And thy mercy will follow me all the days of my life, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord unto the lengths of my days. Amen. Popular song, but obviously is one of my favorites, as many people's favorites. Now we hop into the remedies for gluttony. Now, the virtue that helps neutralize the vice of gluttony is temperance, for to be gluttonous is to overindulge. Now, whereas to be temperate is to have self-control over your bodily appetites and to practice moderation in their satisfaction. The opposite of indulgence is frugality. Now, after Jesus spent 40 days and 40 nights in the desert fasting and praying, the devil came and tempted him. Now, one of his temptations was to convince Jesus that he should turn the stones into bread, because such long fasting he would be hungry. But Jesus said, "It is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth from the mouth of God." Now, the gluttonous man thinks that he needs to satisfy his excessive desires for food and drink, but this is not the way that God intended us to act. The cure for gluttony is moderation and self-restraint in all matters regarding food and drink. This is done by practicing self-denial through abstinence and fasting. Now, this is something quite unpopular in today's self-indulgent culture, which is obsessed with disciplining oneself in this area, principally for the purpose of vanity, of and self-esteem. Now, but uninterested in doing so as a spiritual practice. Now, however, if you do not tame the body by consciously denying yourselves those things that bring you pleasure, those pleasures will eventually begin to control you and your habits. Now, we are creatures of both body and soul, thus it is necessary to discipline the body so that inordinate desires of the flesh, such as gluttony, will not overcome the soul. Now, fasting and abstinence are practices that help greatly in combating gluttony. Fasting and abstinence, not attentively and excessively looking at yourself in the mirror and deciding how you need to look because that's the way the people on the little television look. Fasting and abstinence are the practices that greatly help in combating gluttony. Now, the church recommends fasting in a spiritual practice, especially during Lent, but it is something that you should also practice at other times, telling yourself that you don't need dessert, or that extra bottle of beer will help keep your desire for food and drink in check. And because both gluttony and lust are sins of one body, developing self-discipline and manners of food will also help you control urges for sexual pleasure. Now, one has to give the body a little less than it is due, otherwise it turns traitor, because the day you leave the table without having done something small, some small mortification, you have eaten like a pagan. If you have not died to certain lusts, you have eaten like a pagan. Now, let's go through a daily devotion since we have time. Now the stewards, unaware, as in Genesis 1:20-28. And God said, let the water teem with living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth across the vault of the sky. Now recently I met a captain of a boat featured on Wicked Tuna, National Geographic's channel reality TV show. The show follows the life of the bluefin tuna fishermen. Sadly, illegal practices and overfishing have seriously threatened the population of that fish. The captain told me of the steps taken to protect the tuna population. When I remarked that's a fantastic act of stewardship, he asked, are you religious? To him, stewardship was a religious word. I told the captain I believe in Creator God who created human beings and that we're to steward, to take care of the earth. I explained that even if people didn't realize it, they practice stewardship because that part of what God has created us to do. The captain admitted that seeing the intricate design of the bluefin tuna sometimes makes him want to be religious. I responded, I'm going to pray that you find the creator of the bluefin tuna. You never know what conversations may open up when you affirm the efforts of others who unknowingly reflect God. Reflect what God has created us to do. Take dominion and be stewards of what He has placed in front of us. Now a new friend. This is a reading from John 15:9-17. I no longer call you servants because a servant does not know his master's business. Instead, I have called you friends, for everything that I have learned from my Father I have made known to you. Now, while flying from Europe back to the U.S., I sat next to a little girl who never stopped talking from the moment she sat down. She told me the history of her family and all about her puppy, which was in the hold of the plane. She pointed excitedly to everything around us. I couldn't help but think that 8 hours of this could make for a very long flight. We chatted for a while until suddenly she got quiet. She pulled her blanket up around her, so I thought maybe she was going to doze off. Soon I felt a little elbow in my side. I looked down at her, and she threw out her little hand and said, "Hey Joe, want to be friends?" My heart melted. "Sure," I said, "let's be friends." In the midst of the turmoil of life, when we think all we want is to be left alone, Jesus extends His nailed, scarred hands and invites us to be His friends. Now we have a choice to keep ourselves and our hearts open to friendship and the unlimited love and to guidance. Couple devotions with our manual for men here. The way to healing and the pathway to moving forward in the strength and guidance and obedience and following Christ is to refill the cup with things of piety and things of propriety. So let's finish off with Psalm 22. The Lord ruleth me, and I shall want nothing. He hath set me in a place of pastures. He hath brought me up on the water of refreshment. He has converted my soul. He hath led me on the paths of justice for his own name's sake. For though I should walk in the midst of the shadow of death, I will fear no evils, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they have comforted me. Thou hast prepared a table before me against them that afflict me. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my chalice which inebrieth me. How goodly it is, and thy mercy will follow me all the days of my life, and that I may dwell in the house of the Lord unto the length of my days. And what is wisdom? Wisdom is to be wise with good manner and good sense, to comprehend various learnings, and to be skillful in all that comes before you in tasks and endeavors. Wisdom is to behold in yourself in a well thought out manner. Wisdom will direct your piety and keep you prudent before the Lord your God. Wisdom is a more eminent sense of the Lord your God, and the coming to the knowledge of God's omniscience. Through his word, God imparts wisdom on us. To be devoid of God is to have no wisdom. Wisdom doesn't exist without knowing God. And Job 28:28 tells us, and unto man he said, behold the fear of the Lord, that is wisdom, and to depart from evil is understanding. Proverbs 15:33 tells us, the fear of the Lord is the instruction of wisdom, and before honor is humility. James 1:5, if any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, that giveth to all men liberally, and upbraideth not, and it shall be given to him. James 3:13 tells us, who is a wise man and endued with wisdom among you? Let him show out of a good conversation his works with meekness. But James 3:17, but the wisdom that is from above is first pure, then peaceable and gentle, easy to be entreated, full of mercy and good fruits, without partiality and without hypocrisy. And this is our Manual for Men study, and this is the Study Bible study, where we study the Bible with study Bibles. God bless and amen. And Revelation 17:14 tells us, and these shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall conquer them, for he is Lord of lords, he is King of kings, and they who are with him are called and chosen and faithful. Take care till next time.